Morning, children. Today we are going to discuss about environmental pollution. So, very important concept. That one you should have to listen very carefully. So, we are discussing about which one? Environmental pollution. What is environmental pollution? What are the problems? You know very well. There are different types of problems are there in environment: physical, chemical, and biological characteristics of what is called environment will be changed. That is called environmental pollution. Okay, how can you define the environmental pollution? Just listen very carefully. So, environmental pollution is defined as an undesirable change in the physical, chemical, or biological characteristics of air, water, and soil which cause harm to living organisms. Physical, chemical, biological characteristic of air, water, soil which can cause the harm to living organisms. Say undesirable changes in the water, air, soil that causes harm to the microorganisms. So living organisms. The environmental pollution is caused due to addition of number of wastes. So waste mainly main reason for the environmental pollution. What are the addition of wastes? So what are the waste? First, industrial waste. So carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur, okay, and hydrochloric acid, chlorine, nitrogen oxides, heavy metals, mercury, lead, cadmium, nickel, many organic compounds, phenol, aromatic compounds, etc. These all are coming from industry waste. Domestic waste. Domestic waste, sewage, sanitary facilities, residential, commercial, institutional, other public places. Pathogenic. What is contains sewage? Sewage contains the many pathogens. What do you call? Very important. Bacteria, encysted protozoans, virus, eggs of elements. These all are present in the domestic sewage. Agriculture waste. Agriculture waste consists of carbon dioxide, methane. Okay, very important. Pesticides and chlorinated hydrocarbons. Pesticides, chlorinated hydrocarbons. Okay, fertilizers with nitrates, phosphates, sulfates, and potassium. Nitrates, phosphates, and sulfates of potassium. Commercial waste, building waste, okay, and printing press waste, biomedical waste, okay, like this, medical institutions and hospitals. These all are commercial wastes. So, main reasons, these all waste changing the what you called chemical or biological and physical properties or characteristics of air, water, and soil. That's why they are very harmful to living organisms. That's a environmental pollution. So this is the most important point. Next, biodegradable and wastes. Biodegradable waste and non-biodegradable waste. The environmental pollution are divided into two categories: biodegradable waste and non-biodegradable waste. Biodegradable, the waste can be degraded by biological or microbial. Biodegradable waste means degraded by biological or microbial actions. This includes domestic sewage, livestock waste, municipal wastes. Okay, so these cause pollution only when they are added in large amounts and their rate of degradation. So when they added more large amount, then only this causes the pollution. Non-biodegradable means this waste not acted upon the microbes, are not acted upon by the microbes, or acted upon very slowly, so they can be degraded. Very slowly degraded. Microbes cannot act on this, non-biodegradable. So these waste undergo biological magnification in the food chain. So non-biodegradable will go for biological magnification. This includes the glass. Non-biodegradable, what? Glass, plastic wastes, aluminium cans, radioactive substances, okay, synthetic polymers, heavy metals, pesticides, DDT. These all are comes to the non-biodegradable. Non-biodegradable, in the name itself, answer is there. Microbes cannot degrade these all substances. So these are the very important. Next, solid wastes. Solid waste, in our daily life we generate the lot of materials, right? Useless discarded materials. Useless discarded material as termed as waste. Useless or discarded material as a termed as waste. The waste materials can be gaseous, liquid and solid. Gases are smoke from the chimneys, automobile exhausts, liquid effluent from industries, sewage water. Okay, sewage water, effluent from industries, solid waste. What are the solid waste? Food waste, cow dung, human excreta, trash, rubbish, farm waste, industrial and chemical waste. These all are solid wastes. So food waste, human excreta, trash or rubbish, industrial, chemical, solid and hospital waste. These all are very, very dangerous solid waste. So when accumulate these heaps of solid waste surrounding cause the pollution. So that's why what we have to use instead of how to control this, all are causing the too much problems. Our lifestyle only damaging the our life. So too much environmental pollution, so we have to use technology to what you called dispose for this solid waste. So instead of using plastic cups, we should have to use paper cups to control the solid waste. And instead of using plastic plates, paper spoons, like that, when you take disposable materials in the which one parties functions, then we can reduce the solid wastes. And methods of solid waste disposal. How to dispose of solid waste? Landfilling. So nice land where the low lying areas are there, that one we should have to take and we should have to fill. Landfilling, dumping and composting. So composting means what? So organic matters of solid waste. Organic matter of solid waste is digested anaerobically or aerobically by microbial action. So dumping means where the low-lying areas are there. So there we can dump, in the sense landfills can be used for developing parks or other recreation sites. So dumping is simple and economical method. Where the low-lying areas are there, there we can dump these all the things and we can make parks and everything. That is the first thing. Compost means by using aerobic and anaerobic bacteria, we are degrading, in the sense that is called what you call composting. So nothing but aerobically, anaerobically degradation converted into humus and stable mineral compounds. That's called anaerobic composting. Next, incineration. Simple. Incineration means what? Aerobic burning. Okay, in the presence of air, burning of the waste is called incineration. Like garbage, rubbish, dead animals in the nearly 1000 degrees centigrade temperature, burning the waste is called, in the sense that is called the incineration. What is called? Incineration. Next one is what is called the pyrolysis. Pyrolysis is a very important term. So it's an anaerobic destructive distillation of the combustible constituents of the solid waste at high temperature. Anaerobic destructive distillation of the combustible constituents of the solid waste at high temperature means, what is that here? What is the combustible components of solid waste at high temperature? We use high temperature, and what we are doing? Burning, in the anaerobic burning, destructive distillation, the combustion of constituents of the solid waste at high temperatures. So chemical energy and chemical constituents will be come out. When you do it like this, anaerobic burning of combustible compounds, anaerobic burning or destructive distillation of the combustible constituents of the solid waste at high temperature. So what are the final products? Chemical energy and chemical constituents will be come. Destructive distillation of the combustible constituents of the solid waste. Destructive distillation of the combustible constituents. So that is called pyrolysis. Okay. The next, another important one, the management. Next chapter, very easy chapter, very last chapter, that is called management of natural resources. Why should we, what is the resource? Why should we have to manage? These are all the things we should have to remember. Okay. First, what is resource? What is resource? You should have to observe very, very carefully. So the resource means, where is a source means useful product. Useful product. Useful to man or useful product, source of supply held in reserve which is useful to man. Can be transformed into one more vulnerable and useful item for or mankind. So that is called resource. Useful to man, useful product source. Okay, very important point, that one. So what I am telling is, resource definitely useful thing can be referred to as a resource. Useful product or can be used to produce a useful thing. Useful product or can be used to produce useful thing. That is called resource for useful item for mankind. So useful to man, useful product, source of supply held in reserve, which is useful to man and can be transformed into more vulnerable and useful item for mankind, is called resource. So there are different types of resources. Natural resources. What are the natural resources? Air, water, soil, minerals, inexhaustible natural resources. What is called? Air, water, soil, minerals. These all are what? The vegetation, forest, wildlife, fossil fuels and natural resources. So this can be defined as the, what is called, normal environmental related resources. Okay. So natural resources are grouped into two major categories. These natural resources grouped into two major categories. What are called exhaustible natural resources, non-renewable natural resources. Exhaustible and non-renewable resourceable. Exhaustible natural resources. Okay. Inexhaustible. This is a very important. Inexhaustible. Okay. Inexhaustible natural resources, exhaustible resources, and renewable resources, non-renewable resources. Come on, you see. Inexhaustible means solar radiation, air, okay, tidal energy. You know very well. Will solar energy, what is that? Solar energy will be non-exhaustible or inexhaustible. Always will give radiation. What you call lifelong, it will produce the radiation. So solar radiation is the one of the thing. Next, air, tidal energy. Even after using also we will get. That's why not exhaustible. Exhaustible, renewable resource of forest. See, if you cut the forest, it will take too much of time. That's why they are called exhaustible resources, crops, wildlife, groundwater. So non-renewable resources, coal, natural gas, petroleum, they won't come back. After utilization, they won't be come back. That's why that is called non-renewable resources, coal, natural gas and petroleum. Next, how to conservation. So these non-renewable and renewable. Renewable and non-renewable. See, renewable resource, forest will come. Crops, wildlife, groundwater. Okay, after using also will come, but it will be take more time. Non-renewable, coal, natural gas, petroleum will not come back at all. So there are exhaustible natural resources divided into renewable and non-renewable resources. What are the renewable resources? Come on, renewable resources: forest, crops, wildlife and groundwater. What's the meaning of renewable resources? After utilization also we will get back, in the sense they will be called renewable resources: forest, crops, wildlife and groundwater. Non-renewable resources: coal, natural gas, petroleum, they want to be come back after utilization, so they are called non-renewable. So we have to conserve these non-renewable resources. What's the meaning of conservation? Adopted to check the depletion or destruction of our natural resources. So check the depletion means controls the depletion or destruction of our natural resources is referred to as conservation. So what we have to do? How to conserve? That is important. So why should we have to conserve? Means for next generations require this all fossil fuels. Okay, and avoiding wasteful use of natural resources, judicious utilization of natural resources. Okay, so all non-renewable resources we have to use properly. Discovering the new sources to fulfill the requirements in order to conserve exhaustible resources. Educating the people is important for conservation of non-renewable resources. So what are the main thing? Reduce, 3Rs. Reduce, recycle, reuse. What is the reduce? Natural resources can be saved by their less reduced use. For example, electricity, wasting of food and water. So we should have to reduce. Cutting of trees, too much usage of automobiles, we should have to reduce. Recycling, it includes recycling of materials like paper, plastic, glass materials, which may be recycled to desired objects. Reuse, What is the reuse? The process of reuse is considered better than recycling. So instead of using recycle, you can go reuse the substances. For example, cell phone. We can give for recycling. Suppose reuse for energy. Energy is there. Okay, newspapers and magazines can be used to make envelopes. So newspapers waste, reuse, recycle, reuse newspapers. You can use for reusing and make the envelopes. Like that, reduce, recycle, reuse. In the sense, we can control our natural resources waste. So next important problem is Ganga River. Ganga Action Plan. You must have heard about the Ganga Action Plan. This is a multi-crore project. You know Ganga River. This multi-crore project launched in the year 1985. Which year? 1985. This is the most important project. 1985. So, what is this one? Ganga is a very, what you call nowadays, because of pollution, quality of water in the Ganga was very poor because of pollution. So, who found in the human intestine excreta, coliform. Coliform bacteria is a more very important bit. Which bacteria is more? Coliform bacteria will be more. So 2500 kilometers it will be travel, the Ganga River. So what are the country states that will be? Bihar, UP, West Bengal, it will be travel. So more than 100 towns and cities in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal that pour their garbage and excreta into it. So much waste you are excreting in that Ganga River. So that's why human activities, bathing, washing clothes, okay, and invention of ashes or unburnt corpses, killing fish, these all are they doing. Industries contributes chemical effluents, they all are going to causing the Ganga pollution. So what we have to do? Ganga Action Plan. Treatment of sewage waste, that is important. Enforcement, setting up effluent treatment plants. So sewage water treatment plants, effluent treatment plants, establishment of what you call the disposal of dead bodies, electric crematoria. Next, development of ghats. Okay, interceptions at strategic locations, construction of community toilets. So community toilets are very important to construct to control the Ganga water pollution. So it will be very, what you call Rishikesh, where the Ganga river will be start from Rishikesh, and it will be end in the which state? In the Gujarat. So it will go to Allahabad, Varanasi, okay, Diamond Harbor, like that it will be travel. So in this all the things pollution is too much is going on. Okay, so coliform bacteria only main. So Ganga Action Plan, what is that one? More sewage water treatment plants, effluent treatment plants, electronic, what you call crematoria for dead bodies, development of ghats for inception, okay, and construction of community toilets. When you do these all the things, we can control the which one? The pollution of the Ganga river. So Ganga Action Plan is must and should. Why? Ganga river is very holy water, that is Indian tradition, that is. But now too much pollution, especially which bacteria is there in the Ganga river? The coliform bacteria. So these are all the things we should have to control, and we should have to protect our Ganga river. Then we can be happily enjoy the river benefits. So these are all the things if you do, in the sense we can protect our environment and we can protect our resources. Otherwise what will happen? Some problems will be come, and that is affects the threats to our life only. So children, very carefully you should have to listen carefully. So the non-biodegradable waste, solid waste management, what is okay, pyrolysis, and what are the definition of what is the definition of resource, what is the natural resource, what is exhaustible natural resources types, renewable resources, non-renewable resources, and what is the conservation, and for conservation what are the 3R techniques, what is the 3R technique? Reduce, recycle, reuse. Like this if you do, in the sense we can use our resources very system and judiciary manner. We can conserve our resources for next generations, and we can control the environmental pollution also. So children, think about this all the things We have to protect. It is a social responsibility.